All right, everyone, we are now joined by today's race winner of the Wurth 400 at Dover Motor Speedway, Denny Hamlin, driver the number 11 for Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. If you have a question for Denny, raise your hand and we will get a mic to you. We'll start right in the front here and then work our way back.
Yeah, I'm Dropper Motorsports today. First off, congrats, Denny.
Thank you.
So yesterday you mentioned how last week's win that Tyler had, it was great, obviously, for 2311, but as a competitor, don't always like to see it. Now, being able to win yourself for literally the next week, what's that like, being in victory lane 2 weeks in a row, but in two completely different roles?
It's been a good season. I don't know how else to explain it. To be in 5 victory lanes in the first, I don't know what race is this, 11 or 12 or something. So
11.
Yeah, I mean, half of them we've been in victory lane, and the other ones I've been right there with a shot to win them. So it feels good in the groove right now for sure, and certainly feel like you want to celebrate these, right? Because you just never know if it's your last or anything like that. But I'm just so focused this season on getting a lot of wins and trying to move that tally up as high as I can. So certainly happy for the team last week. That kind of set in on Monday, Tuesday. Sunday it's very, very hard to just flip a switch and be bummed about your day, and then all of a sudden, okay, be excited. It is just a little different. It is different when you win it yourself versus when you're a car owner. It just feels different. But certainly we've been on a good run.
Awesome. And how are you feeling about your chances next week at Kansas, a track that since the next gen car debuted, Toyota, both you and 2311 have performed exponentially well?
Yeah, I mean, I expect to win every week. There's no reason I shouldn't expect to win. And so I think that I'll focus on it tomorrow, but it's been on the radar for a while. I mean, this little stretch right here, right before the All-Star break, is between Dover, Kansas, Darlington. I mean, these are all kind of right in my wheelhouse, so certainly feel pretty good about it.
We'll stay up front, then we'll go to Bob and Mark.
Denny, Eddie Kalegi Motorsports today. Congrats on the win. Obviously, Dover, no secret, one of the toughest tracks to pass at, and the next-gen car difficult to pass with. And a real important moment in this race was when you were able to jump both Larson and Bowman on pit road and then keep the car there. So can you take me through that moment and then being able to hold off Kyle in that final stretch?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when that was. We had a few pit stops afterwards. I think Larson just did a much better job than I did after that moment when we gained some track position. That was a key moment for sure. Then we came out on pit road with the lead. And then at that point, I can't remember what happened after that. Oh, we led, and then we had another pit sequence under green, and Kyle just beat me pretty bad coming to pit road, and at that point he took back over the lead. But I just felt like my car was so good in the short run that I wasn't really worried about when we came out behind Kyle, even though there was only 60, 70 laps left. That's easy for me to say because I think he's probably one of the best at defending his spot, but I just was confident in how fast my car was. The pit crew just did a phenomenal job, and they're part of the reason why I expect to win every single week. Is that I know I've got one of the best pit crews, I've got one of the best teams, best engineers and crew chiefs. So there's no reason I shouldn't expect to win. As long as I do my job, then we're going to be part of the conversation. So it's a fun time, and this is certainly more of a team sport than it's ever been.
Go to Bob and then Mark.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. How good are you at defending your spot, especially late in a run such as today?
I don't think I'm great at it. I think that there are certainly some that are better defending their spot than others. I don't put myself very high on that list. I've got so many other things. I'm trying to get faster week to week, and certainly, defending is an important part of your finish week in, week out, but I'm so focused on whatever I can do to be faster in general. So, I think that I'm probably pretty low on that list, but, which makes me a little worried, when you're going up against Kyle at the end of the race, someone that's not afraid to move around the racetrack. He's not stuck to one line. His car was really good in the long run. He kind of reeled us in a little bit in the previous green flag run. So I was certainly nervous, but I also knew that as long as I just did my job, hit my marks, and didn't have any major blow-up laps, and that's ones where, it pokes out high on the graph where, I missed my line or got caught in traffic, then I was going to be able to hold him off. But he certainly made it more interesting than what I really wanted.
Mark?
Mark Garrow, PRN. Danny, earlier in the week you kind of predicted this, so how does it feel to come through and sort of be the Babe Ruth calling your home run shot here today?
Yeah, I think we did it back in 2012 as well at New Hampshire. We mentioned that we were going to win that week, and I felt pretty confident of it. And you better win if you're gonna open your mouth. That's for sure. So certainly, the way that race is starting to play out at the end, I'm like, boy, this is just I can't give up the lead at this point after I said that. So hopefully some listeners of Actions Detrimental maybe cashed in on today.
Danny, my other question is, this is 54 career victories. You're now getting into some rarefied air. You're tied with Hall of Famer Lee Petty for 12th. You're one behind Rusty Wallace. What does it feel like to be in that kind of territory?
Yeah, it doesn't seem right. I mean, if you put all the names on the list and the orders of in the order of the wins that they have, I don't know. I see my name as just an outlier, one that sticks out like it doesn't really belong there. But it's just I've been doing it a long time, and you take for granted all the wins that you've had, and all we think about is the ones that we didn't win. I'm like, man, I feel like I should have 80 or 90 realistically, but everyone has those stories, and so I just that's my personal goal. Before I end my career, I want to get to a number that puts me well inside that top 10 of race winners, and I think that will speak for itself in its resume.
Denny, we'll go to your back left over here.
Seth Woolcock, In Between Media. Denny, you now have 3 wins and 11 points-paying races this season, 4 including the Clash. You had 3 all last season. What's been some of the biggest improvements on this number 11 team overall that's led to this success early in the season?
Well, I think me and Chris just keep getting better. He continues to challenge me and push me to get better. He holds me accountable. I hold him accountable. And so I think that it's just, we're in year 5 now of working together, and we just keep getting better. We're starting to understand each other a little more, and we kind of know where our deficits are and where we need to work to win more races. And, if you would ask me 6-7 years ago, winning at Dover, I would have said you're crazy. It was by far my worst track. I just hated coming here each and every time, but he led me in a direction to get better, and really paid off over those last 5 years.
Denny, we'll go to your back right, and then Jeff.
Sacatan's ready, kickingthetires.net. Lawson mentioned how one reason the aero blocking is easy is because of the rear camera. He said he ran the camera earlier to fend off Bowman when he was up front. Did you use it? And if so, how does that assist you versus a rear view camera? Or rear view mirror, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I use it at times, but I didn't use it much today, simply because Dover is just a track where things happen so fast. I feel like personally, if I take my eyes off the road for a second and I take it to the camera, I'll miss my line. So I kind of rely more on the spotter to defend than I do the actual camera, just simply because I don't think I'm good enough to drive and look backwards.
He said he would be for it if the cameras were removed. Would you think it would be a small fix in the right direction for aero blocking?
It wouldn't change anything because the spotters will tell you where to drive. So it's just I'd rather fix the car or tire or something.
Jeff, then Dustin.
Just in general, the philosophy of learning how to defend to this degree on tracks like this. It's one thing for super speedways how it used to be, but to to take somebody's air away on intermediates and now a track like this, like what has the evolution of that been? Like, when did drivers first start adding that to their toolbox from your view and realizing that, like, oh, we need to do this?
I think it was when we went to the 550 package on the mile and a halves in Gen 6 days. So is that 2019, 18, 19? When we started running the big ass spoilers, low horsepower. At that point, that's when it kind of started for sure. And then it's just kind of ramped itself up a little bit since then. And honestly, we're running a car that just hates being in traffic. It does not like being behind another car. So that's why it races really well on tracks that are really wide, because the second place guy can just go wherever the leader is not, but it's a cat and mouse game. You know, sometimes you start the corner here and then you just drive up when you see that, you know, all you need to do is get him to cross your wake, and you know that you're going to send his car you know, off track. So it's just it's a product of the car, and it just happens at all tracks now. So it's I think it happened 5 years ago when we went to the intermediate package that we went to.
Dustin?
Dustin Albino, J-Ski. Denny, this is the second time that you've won 3 of the opening 11 races of the year, and then obviously the Clash as well. So do you feel like this is the best start that you've had over your 19 years?
I've had so many years, it's hard for me to, you know, I'm sure ones that slip past, you know, that you don't pay attention to. But, I mean, I think we've led in every race this year, and not by accident or through pit cycles. Like, we legit lead. So, yeah, I would say this is the most competitive. I think it's probably only our third top 5, though. I think we have 3 wins, 3 top 5. So we either crash or we win. So I really wish I could have Texas back and a few others. But, yeah, I would say that it's probably the most competitive that I've been to start a season. Absolutely.
Go right up front here.
Elliot Stern, Sports Talk 805. You've now won, counting the Clash, 4 short track races this year, and you've been progressing a quarter mile, half mile, 3/4, and a mile. Now, 2 questions. Does that make you the king of the short tracks? And Kansas is coming up. Will you progress to win on the mile and a half?
I'm not going to call my shot just yet. I need to soak this victory up first. But, I mean, I'm optimistic. I mean, I've said it a million times. Every 7 days I can win. And it just, that is so hard to come by. There's probably legit 4, maybe 5 people that can do that, just because of the team they're with. They're good enough. They're good at all types of tracks, and we're one of those. And so, I mean, I feel good about every track that we go to. The only thing that frustrates me is I'm not getting results at super speedways, where I used to have a big influence on the finish, but now I don't, just simply because of how the draft works. So everywhere we go, you know, short of kind of road courses, I still got some work to do there. But if we're turning left, I like my chances.
We'll stay up front.
John Crane, NASCAR.com. Denny, you know, when you think of what defines a championship winning season, you have to make those championship winning plays during the regular season. So when you look at the overall work today, from pit road and holding off another championship contender right there at the end, how satisfying is this win, do you think?
It's very satisfying, because, you know, I was really looking forward to Texas when Kyle Larson was, you know, dominant the first half. I knew what kind of car I was going to have in the second half, and he had a wheel problem, and that was like, man, I can't race him straight up. And then today, you know, we've had a lot of late race battles, and so to get the better end of it certainly feels good on my end. But I mean, he's one of the best. I mean, the record proves it. The amount of wins he's got since being over there, it speaks for itself. So, I mean, you know, as old as I am, I'm just happy I can keep up at this point. But then to be a challenger to those guys who are half my age, it's fun.
And do you think that this is a good litmus test when you battle with them again, inevitably, probably later in the season?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know that I'm a championship caliber driver. Okay, I'll just say it. I think that there's been worse drivers win a championship than me. I just feel that way, just because of things that have worked out. But it's different. You know, find one driver saying that championships are the same today as they were 10 years ago. That's just not. You know, I care about wins and winning every single week, you know, because in the end, I absolutely would take 60-some wins and no championship over 20 and 1. It's just not even close. So I just think that it's fun to be able to do it. And when you can do it against someone that you really consider a big challenger, and Kyle Larson, I mean, he's a champion, not a challenger, right? I'm probably the challenger. I think that it certainly, you know, helps your ego a little bit. Like I needed that.
Go ahead.
All right. Steven Stump, FriendShips.com. Denny, you've had plenty of battles with Kyle over the years, coming right down to the last laps. Kansas last year, Southern 500 a few years ago. You've been the leader and the trailing car in both of them. Does having all those battles, does that familiarity, does it help when battling Larson and maybe knowing like what he might try and do, just having that familiarity?
I mean, I just know that the pressure that it puts on me, because I know that he's willing to take chances to reel me in, and it's why you see some of these next gen races come down to a pretty close finish, because if you're not willing to push it to the absolute edge, you're not optimizing lap time. And I know that when he's chasing, he is pushing it to the edge. I'm just trying not to screw up, and so I'm not running to the car's probably full potential, because what would really look silly is me going in the corner and losing it, getting sideways, and he just gets an easy pass on me. So it's really, really hard as a leader to just say, this lap time is good, and if I can run this lap time, he's not going to get around me. And so, you know, it certainly got tricky when we got around lap cars, because I didn't know where they were going to go. But it's hard. I mean, it really is hard. It affected my psyche more than it did anything, but I just tried to stay calm, and I'm interested to kind of look at the lap times. I feel like I was uber consistent every lap, even when we were in traffic. So I'm just, you know, that's kind of a test on me, is am I executing, am I doing the best job that I can to hold him off? He had the long run speed on me for most of the day, and so it just kind of worked out timing wise, where I would stretch it out and then he would reel me back in. But I mean, it's hard. It's hard when you're racing against a guy who's willing to wreck to win.
We'll take our final question from Lee.
Lee Spencer, Series 6 of NASCAR Radio and Catch Fence. I hate to continue along that line, but the battle that you guys had to start the second stage was just epic. I mean, it was the best racing of the day. And to kind of follow up on that, you know, we've seen this with you two before. If he's on the inside, he's pushing you up. He's trying to get you to that just raw edge of hitting the wall. And, you know, you said you want to look at your lap times and such, but how do you, I mean, you got to be giving everything to keep it in line, and not just, because you had a couple of wiggle moments, but just to be able to hold on to it with that kind of pressure lap after lap. I'm kind of curious how you do that. And finally, will we see a rematch of Kansas between you two next week?
As long as the result's the same, sure. He's just a hard competitor. I mean, I can answer all of your questions, but Kyle Larson's just a hard guy to beat, period. He really is. And I know when I'm on the outside of him, I trust him. Probably more than he trusts me when I'm on the inside of him, you know, for good reason. But it does take a lot of trust, because I can feel air that he's putting onto my car at certain times, and it's pushing me up the track. And it tells you how hard we were pushing for track position at that time. I mean, neither one of us wanted to give that spot up at all. And finally, I just waved the white flag, because I felt like we weren't making any progress. And here comes Bowman. He's going to fill the hole, and I'm going to go back more. But it certainly was a precursor to what the end of the race was going to be like, and that was a head-to-head battle with him.
Thank you, Denny. Congrats again.
All right, thanks.